Hey, it's DBJ, and we're going to talk about naked fighting. Yeah, just running around with a sword and genitalia just swinging in the air. No. This is more of a question than really a statement. I'll give my opinion on it, and depending on the game systems, if I can get my thoughts together on this one. Naked fighting. More specifically, games that have or do not have a method to describe characters who are not protected, armored up, given some kind of force fields or screens or defenses or anything like that. But the characters can still operate in the game world without any of those things, and you can still have fun. And I know a lot of it is genre specific. For example, if you take a look at a lot of sword and sorcery movies, some really good ones too. Say 300, great movie. But I mean, you got 300 guys running around in leather speedos. So how do you guys mimic that in games? Classically, Dungeons and Dragons has not really had a mechanism for doing naked fighting. Now, there's ways to circumvent it. I remember when I started playing Basic and Advanced D&D, Second Edition, and if you take a look at especially like the Pathfinder NPC Codex, you're going to see everything from rings of protection, cloaks of protection, bracers of defense, all kinds of, basically, here's an item that gives you pluses to your armor class. And for better or worse, it just describes your character not being hit. Now, of course, it could be like the silk shirt that's as hard as steel or something like that. But for a long time in classic D&D, classic meaning 4th edition and less, you often had to have some kind of item to circumvent the rules. It was very difficult to make a Conan-style character without particular abilities. Now, of course, certain class types, monks, barbarians, rogues, had various feats and abilities that were inserted into the game. I think even Bard had something like this. I'm kind of racking my brain because I'm thinking of other game systems at the same time here. But they were very much shoehorned into the game, and I feel didn't quite become a standard that you would have with a character who can wear armor. Chainmail is better than leather armor, plate mail is better than chainmail, scale mail falls in the middle, bandit armor, things of that nature. So fighting naked, being, not having armor, just having a weapon, and really being able to still continue in a game without having to resort to armoring your character to try to get the same game effect. Then there's certain genres, like let's take Star Wars, for example. Stormtroopers are armored up, but nobody's going around stealing the stuff because it's kind of useless in its own genre. They're getting hit and taken out in one shot. It kind of doesn't leave very much. Who it must have been the lowest bidder made that armor, because a blaster bolt goes right through it. Now, of course, it's based on a space opera genre. So does it benefit characters to wear more armor? And if you're going for a particular flavor of game where the characters are swashbucklers, they're running around, they're quicker more than armored up, have you guys created house rules to mimic this? Do you play certain game systems because it mimics that? And if so, let's give me some short ideas, because I'd love to do a house rule on it, especially for Dungeons and Dragons. I'd love to do a house rule if there's a gaming group out there that uses a naked fighting rule. Essentially, like, you gain, yes, I know there's dex bonuses, but do you give additional bonuses for characters that do not wear armor because you want to get across a specific type of feel for your game? I'd like to know. I personally would rather error towards the setting and genre more so than making something quote unquote realistic or makes sense, because there's a reason why people don't wear armor in modern days, for example. Not the least of which is because the damage output for most weapons makes wearing armor kind of useless. So yes, you will find the higher technology, then the higher damage output, the least likely wearing armor would be. So for example, if you were playing in a game and you want to run like a Halo game or a Destiny styled game, and you have characters wearing armor, of course, you know, side effect, of course, is, you know, life support systems, but you would, in your gaming system, would have rules that make it beneficial and even almost mandatory for wearing armor, but you get none of the penalties of it, being slower, being an easier target to hit, and having armor that has enough blocking defensive abilities to make it warranted and make it common sense for wearing it. So I'd love to hear some of your thoughts about it. It's the first time I really wanted to put out a real question out there. There's lots of people comment on the videos, and I love your ideas. So I'd love to get it, and then I'll do a response on naked fighting. But for right now, what are your thoughts? What are your house rules? Do you use a house rule? Are your players punished for not wearing armor? And have you ever had to have discussions about the armored character versus the unarmored character? Now, of course, I'm ending this because on this note, for example, the wizard and spellcasting class, one of the most popular spells is Mage Armor. And Mage Armor, depending on your game, you can describe it in how it looks and how it feels, and does it glow? Does it look like real armor? Is it just a force field? What have you? But that exists for mages to protect them. Thereby, they're technically not naked as far as I'm concerned. Not what you would see in a movie. So anyway, I'd love to hear some thoughts. DBJ, I'm out. As always, create. And if you create some rules, I'd love to hear them. And don't destroy.